y'all, how y'all doing? Welcome back to Make Your Mark TV. Sorry I didn't post something on Tuesday. Sorry, kind of busy, you know. But today I'm coming with you with another reaction video to another Crazy Neighbor story time by my boy Titan. So let's get into it.
Hey, what's up you guys, it's your boy Titan, and in today's video, I'm coming at you with another creepy neighbor story time. Now this is probably one of the most traumatizing memories that I have, and what makes it so traumatizing is that I don't know what caused the situation to happen, or what my neighbor was planning on doing, or what was going through his head. Like, I had no idea what was going on, or why it was going on. Like, normally when I'm in a crazy situation, I know at least why I'm in a crazy situation or what the person's intentions are. This time I had no idea. I don't know if my neighbor was crazy or if he had some sort of mental illness or if he was just like weird in general. But yeah, it was very traumatizing. But before I get into all of that, I'm gonna need you guys to give this video a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to my channel to become part of the Ty fam, and ring that notification bell so you can get notified every time I post. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on Snapchat at TYE_TUN. And we're just gonna get straight into the story time, so let's go.
I love his intro though. I love that intro. That music kinda. That music though.
Now this story takes place when I was around 7 or 8, I'm not 100% sure, but during this time we had just got a new neighbor who moved across the street from us. And he was a very strange man. He was super tall and very skinny and pale, and his face was very like hollow, if that makes sense. And when I say hollow, I mean his cheeks were very sunken in, and his eyes were very deep set, kind of giving him this skeleton kind of aesthetic. And since he was also pale, he kind of reminded me of like a ghost or something. And his hair was very strange too. Like, the entire thing was cut except for like the middle, like literally like right here. That wasn't cut. Everything else was bald except for this spot right here, and it was super long, and he wore it in a ponytail. And his hair was bright red, like fire red. And I have never seen anything like that before, so I just thought it was kind of strange. But on top of his appearance being strange, his personality was a lot stranger. He would just do the weirdest things that didn't make any sense at all. Like, for instance, the day he moved in, he came over to our house and asked us if he could borrow a broom. And of course we let him use our broom, but instead of taking it over to his house, he started sweeping the street. And I don't mean just in front of his house, he literally went all the way down to the end of the street and swept the entire thing. He was sweeping for hours. And my mom was super mad, but she didn't say anything, because once he started sweeping the road, she was just like, well, there goes our broom. I don't even want it back now. Oh, and speaking of getting it back, he never returned it. Not that we wanted it, but he never returned it in the first place. And like every Sunday morning, he would come out of his house and sweep the entire street. Now that is somebody who loves the environment, I'll give him that. Another thing that he did that was extremely strange was in front of his house were these tall, like super tall windows. And the curtains were always open, and he would just be sitting there inside the window staring at our house. And not only would he stare at our house, but he would do it in such an angry way. He would literally sit in his window with his arms folded and be like,
being observant. Being observant.
Just like that. And it was especially creepy at nighttime because his entire house would be dark except for those two windows that he would stand in front of. Those would be well lit, and you could just see him standing there staring at our house. And he would do this for hours at a time. Like, I can't stress this enough, like hours. It got to the point where I would be extremely uncomfortable leaving my own house because I just felt like he was staring at me. And I do not do well with strangers staring at me. I have so many stories about this man that are just completely creepy, but I'm about to tell you the one that was very traumatizing. So like I said, I was about 8 years old at the time, and my cousin was babysitting me because my mother had to work. And this was overnight, so it was dark outside. So when my cousin was watching me, I was telling her about the new neighbor and how creepy he was and the things that he did, and him using our broom broomstick
Man,
and
yes,
standing
tell
in his
everything.
window at all
Tell.
hours. And the more I told her,
What?
the more she didn't believe me. So I was like, I'm telling you, he stares at our house all the time. He's probably looking at us right now. So we go over to my front door and open it to look to see if he's staring at us. And lo and behold, this man is in his window again, looking straight at us. So he's looking at us directly from his window, and he can see us staring at him. And then our eyes connect, and he's like, he starts
Like the
waving at
Scooby-Doo
us.
moment.
And it kind of freaks us out, so we close the door, and she locks it. And my cousin was like, oh my
I
god,
know,
that is so
right?
creepy. And I was like, I know, I tried to tell you, he's a creepy man. So we talk about him for a couple more minutes, but then after that, we kind of just forget about him and then go back to hanging out. And for like an hour, everything was fine. We were watching TV, playing video games, you know,
Okay.
cracking up, having a good time. I used to love when my cousin would babysit me. I really miss her. But the fun that we were having came to a complete halt when
Ooh.
we got a knock at the door. And it was like a stern
Ooh.
knock too, kind of like a, not no regular knock. It almost sounded like a
Zoink.
bang. Kind of as if the person that was knocking was a little bit irritated. So my cousin looks at me and I look at her and I'm like, are you gonna get that? You're the adult. I'm not answering the door. So she walks over to the door and she looks out the peephole and she can see our creepy neighbor standing on our porch. And she turns back to me and she whispers, it's the neighbor and he does not look too happy. And I don't know what to do because he knows that we're in here. We can't just not open the door for him. But instead of opening it, she just talks to him through the door. So she calls to him and she's like, hey, who is it? And he doesn't respond. He just sits there and he just stares at the door. So again, my cousin was like, hey, who's there? Can you hear me? And this time he said a word, but it was kind of muffled. I'm assuming he said his name, but it didn't sound like his name, but I don't know. So my cousin yells back and she's like, well, what do you want? You know, it's kind of late. And for like 15 seconds, he doesn't say anything at all. And it was just like really like awkward and tense. And my cousin looks into the peephole, but all she can see is kind of like his head to his waist. And he starts taking off
What?
his clothes. And then it sounds like he started to unbuckle his pants and drop his pants on the porch. And after he does all that, he starts walking off the porch and my cousin can see everything and he has no clothes on. But when he walks off the porch, he doesn't walk in the direction of his house. He walks to the side of my house. And like I said, I wasn't by the door, so I didn't see any of this happen. My cousin was
What
just
in the
telling me
world?
what was going on. And I honestly thought she was lying until I heard the back door start to jiggle. And I start freaking out and my cousin starts freaking out and she's like, oh my god, is that him? So I run over to the back door to make sure it was locked, and it was, thank god. But our back door had this small circular window on it so you can see outside. But the window was kind of distorted. It wasn't like smooth glass. It was very wavy. I don't know how to
artistic.
explain it, but if you look through the window, you couldn't tell what was on the other side. You could
Like
see
smeared
through
glass.
it, but you couldn't
Okay.
tell what you were looking at because of the
Okay.
glass, like the way the glass was designed. I don't really know how to explain what I'm talking about, but I'll put a picture right here so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So when I get to the back door, the first thing I do is check to see if it's
Thank
locked, and it
God.
was, like I said. The second thing I do is look out the window, and when I looked out the window, I saw my neighbor's distorted face. You couldn't see him super clear, but you could see him well enough to know that it was him. He was like pressed up against the window with his nose like flat against the window. And when I saw him, I'm not gonna lie, I screamed like a little girl. Now, I don't know if me screaming scared him away, but as soon as I did, he booked it. And he vanished from the back door window, and you could hear him running around the house like stomping. And one thing that I remember is that he was fast. It literally took him like 2 seconds to get from the back of my house to the front of my house. And you could hear every single footstep as he was running around my house because it was that loud. And when he got to the front of the house, you could hear him scuffling around and grabbing his clothes. Like you could hear his belt buckle clinging around the porch as he was picking it up. And my cousin looked out of the peephole again, and she saw him running with his clothes in his hand all the way to his house. Now, thank God for the rest of the night, he did not come back. I mean, at least as far as I know, he didn't come back. He could have, like, snuck back over to the house without us knowing. But as far as I know, he didn't. And my cousin had called her boyfriend, and her boyfriend kind of stayed at my house until my mom got home. And then when my mom came home, me and my cousin told her everything that had happened. And obviously, she did not like what she had heard. She walked across the street to my neighbor's house, banged on his door, and when he opened it, she cussed him out. She was literally screaming at him. And me and my cousin were inside the house.
Tons, mama, you better curse him
Let him know,
out.
sis. You better tell him. She
You
cussed him out for
better.
like a good 10 minutes. She
You
made sure he was
better.
never going to do something
Shout
like that
out to you,
again.
shout
But I
out
still
to
think
you,
about that
Mom.
moment till
You
this day.
better.
Like, that was so creepy because I didn't know
Better.
what his intentions were. Like, what were you doing? Like, why did you take off your clothes and why did you try to break into the back door? Like, what What
Yeah,
were you
what are you
planning
trying
on
to do?
doing, sir? But yeah, that's the whole story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I did not enjoy living through it, but I am
Yes,
fine
thank
today, thank
God.
God. Hopefully this never happens to you guys because I don't want anybody to experience anything like this at all. It was horrific, but I'm really curious to
Terrifying.
hear you guys' opinions about the story
What?
time. What do you guys think was going on? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you want your story time to be featured as a YouTube video, all you guys gotta do is comment your best story time in the comment section down below, or you can email me at ty.storytime@gmail.com. I'll put the email in the description so you can't miss it. And with all that being said, I love you guys a ton. It's been Ty. It's really late as normal. It's 4:58
What?
a.m. It's extremely early in the morning or extremely late at night, depending on how you view it. I have to edit this video and go to sleep, so I will talk to you guys in my next storytime video.
See ya, Titan.
Bye.
Peace.
Love y'all.
Man. Titan, bruh, that's like you had just a little Scooby-Doo moment. Like, crazy old man over here going to in front of your door, taking his clothes off. Zoinks. Going to your back door, trying to sneak in. Jinkies, like, Scooby-Doo, where are you? Like, over here. Man, like, I'm not laughing that he had a situation, but man, that right there. Ooh, man, that just had me cringing. Oh, thank God I live in the suburbs. Because thank God the only that's behind me, my house is some woods. Not really woods, but like a giant tree, vine type of thing. A big backyard behind me. In front of me is just a big giant tree farm. That's it. But man, Titan, you are bold, bro. You are brave, man. But I gotta do shout out to your mama though. She over here cursing me out. Yes, Titan's mama, you better represent. Show him what you show him who they messing with. Show them what they messing with. Okay. Oh my God. But anyway, please, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. And I'll see you next time on Make Me My TV. See ya.